Evening, everybody.
Yes.
This is BDS London coming to you live from London. We're going to cover a couple of things this evening, just to a little bit of a revision about preparing yourself for the driving test and anything that comes up as far as the driving test is concerned. There's been quite a lot of development on the DVSA side. They are in the process of trying to make more tests available over the next couple of months, and we have been seeing an improvement in test availability. We had a request from the Daily Mail today for an interview as well, which was really interesting to discuss with them, and I want to just go over some of those issues with you. All right, so what I'd like to start with this evening is just to talk a little bit about something that I've seen multiple times. One of the things that people don't realize is that driving is habitual. In other words, it's a habit. You make it into a habit. When you start to walk, or you're a baby and you're starting and learning to walk, your mind has to actively be engaged in the walking process while you're learning to walk. So you are thinking about the learning process. Like anything, when you're learning to do the high jump, you're actively engaged in doing and learning the high jump. Or any new physical activity you learn, you're actively engaged in that physical activity. When you're learning to drive, it's similar. You are actively engaged in the process of learning to drive. So what we try to do, what you need to try to be doing, is to develop good habits, to develop the type of habits that are going to stand you in good stead for the rest of your driving career. Now, I find this a lot. People come to me and they say, I can't pass the driving test. I have a problem. Every time I go and I do the driving test, I have this problem. I'm either too nervous or I'm this or that, and it becomes a problem. And then when I take them out and I do an evaluation, I found out that they have no sequence. They have not been practicing specific sequences in doing certain things. And I'll give you a good example. If the driving examiner says to you, pull up on the left, there is a specific sequence you need to go through to do that in a safe manner. And that sequence is, okay, he said, pull up on the left. First thing you have to do is identify where you're going to pull up and check both your center and left-hand mirror. So that's part of the sequence. Now, that's after the instruction. You check your mirrors and you identify where you're going to pull up. The next part of the sequence is, before you signal to pull up, you've got to make sure it's safe. Mirror, mirror, center, left-hand mirror. That's part of the sequence. Then you see it's safe and you maneuver. Then you put on your signal and you maneuver into a position to pull up on the left. And then you must position yourself. And then the rest of the sequence follows. You must put your handbrake on, take your car out of gear, and you switch off your signal. And then you observe all around, make sure it's safe and convenient where you're pulled up. Now, that's a sequence. If you're in a driving test and the examiner says to you, pull up on the left, and you go mirror, mirror, signal, number one, you haven't identified where you're going to pull up. Have you actually looked in the mirror and made sure it's safe to pull up on the left? Now you're driving down the road with your left signal on, and the driving examiner is thinking that was just courtesy, doing the mirror, mirror signal. They didn't identify. They didn't prepare properly. It's all wrong. It's wrong. And then what happens is, if the examiner talks to you while you haven't got a sequence, you don't have steps to follow. And those steps should be so natural. You don't do certain things unless you have worked out a sequence to follow for that. And that's really, really, really important, guys. Really important. I cannot stress how important it is that you have specific sequences for whatever you're doing when you're driving. And as I've said on these webinars before, one of the things that people always forget and make a mistake with is they think that you can sort of work out the driving while you're driving. Well, if you're going to do that for the rest of your life, you are going to have bad habits. You've got to have the good habits. Okay, so guys, what I'm trying to say to you is the important thing, the really, really important thing, is to work out specific sequences for yourself to be able to follow through in the process of driving. So the first thing in your sequence is always identify your junction. Identify where you're going to pull up. Identify when you're going to move off. Keep identifying. Make sure that when you're going to get to a giveaway line, make sure you understand what the process is. Have a sequence that you follow when you get there. Have a sequence that you follow when you get to a roundabout. These are things that are really, really important. And the problem is you can't just work it out. And you know, the thing is, the sequence for a giveaway line doesn't change. The sequence for turning right on the road, that sequence never changes. It's always the same process. There's always a process in what procedure you have to do that. Then what happens, and this is exactly what happens, now it becomes habitual. You don't have to think about the sequence anymore. You know how to walk, you know how to run, you know how to jump. You don't think about, oh, I've got to balance, I've got to do this. You just do these things because you've worked on a procedure which has been repetitive. The moment that procedure is not repetitive and you have this, I have to work it out every time, it becomes things that you can go wrong, that you don't have properly procedured, you haven't structured them, and that's when you have problems doing them. And it takes a heck of a lot longer to learn something without a sequence and procedure than it does to learn it on a fixed sequence and a fixed procedure. Because you can work the procedure out, sit down, learn the steps on the procedure. This you can do in your own time. Then when you get in the car, you've got that in your mind and you know, I have a procedure. The thing that I often say to clients, which they don't really realize, is that at the end of the day, the car is mathematically geometry. It is just geometry. It has a geometric process in the driving. And it is fixed in maths. It's a mathematical thing that happens. And all mathematics have procedures and formulas. And if you start looking and thinking of it like that, all of a sudden driving loses all this fuss and nebulous things around it. And that's often the problem. You think, well, okay, you know, there is this nebulous situation with the driving. No, there isn't. It's really very structured. And then the more you structure it, the more you put the procedures in, the more your procedures are safe and effective, the easier they become to do, and the better you have knowledge. Now, when the examiner says to you, okay, at the roundabout, take the third exit, you immediately have a procedure and a structure for it. And you can quickly go through that through your mind, check your mirrors, put yourself in the right lane, go right, going right signal, find the second exit, left signal, out, move out, go out. Simple. There's a procedure to it. It's not getting there and thinking, oh, what do I do now? What's this roundabout? What type of roundabout? You can't work it out when you're on the road. And that's when it goes wrong. But if you have a procedure, when I'm on an open roundabout, I'm taking the third exit. I must look if it's past 12 o'clock. There it is. Seen it on the leaderboard. I know what I'm doing. I've identified the roundabout. Now it becomes easy. Now it's just doing the habit. Now it becomes a habit and it's simple. Guys, please, we have really good videos, BDSL Online. Your client manager will give you access to those videos as part of your course. You get access to the BDSL Online videos as part of your course. You just go there, just tell your client manager, say, I want access to the driving tuition videos, the videos that prepare me for the driving test. And your client manager will give you access to those videos because that's part of your course. When you've engaged with us financially, either for getting a driving test or getting a test or an instructor or lessons or guaranteed pass course or intensive courses, all those things are there. And if there's anything we say tonight that needs discussion, please get back to us so we can have a look at it. All right, guys. So please procedures. Sit down, work out procedures. And if you want a procedure for the parallel park, ask me for it. We have procedures for all of the maneuvers. There are ways to work out how to do the maneuver mathematically. Geometry, it's completely repetitive. You can repeat it in any car, it works. It's really simple. And it's the same with the roundabouts. Please go and watch the roundabouts. Know what the roundabouts are. Mini roundabouts, open roundabout, closed roundabout, spiral roundabout, open spiral, closed spiral. Okay, get to know what those individual things are. So when you're approaching these different junctions, know what they mean. When you see a traffic light and it has 4 lights, you should immediately know why a traffic light has 4 lights instead of 3. Okay? All right. Now, I have asked Kim to, is that Kim? Yeah, there we are.
Yes.
Okay, Kim, I'm going to allow you to talk to us, Kim. Would you like to also put on, you can also, let me just see here.
Can you hear
me? There you are. Yeah, we can hear you, Kim. It's all good. It's all good.
me? I'm not yeah.
So you're there, Kim?
I am. Hello.
Okay. So Kim came to me today. She's struggled a little bit in the past with a driving test, and she said to me when we met that she's had a little bit of problems. Now, one of the things that I really pride myself in, or that I think we can do really well in BDS, is really evaluate what is the deep-seated problem in a driving test. And guys, it is different for different people. Everybody has their own issues in driving tests. And Kim, can I share about the nervousness? Can I share that?
Yes, I have anxiety. So I think that was my issue when I was going for my driving test, is that I was getting very nervous in the car, and making mistakes, basically. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I said to her, and this is absolutely true for anybody who has a problem with that. The first port of call is and please guys, everything I say to you, please check with your doctors. I'm not a doctor. I don't presume to be a doctor. This is just pure experience. Okay. So what I normally do with say to clients who are at a stage of having nervousness, the first port of call is to try ibuprofen, because ibuprofen naturally relaxes your muscles and relaxes your brain. And normally a normal dose of ibuprofen an hour before you actually do your test can help a lot to calm your nerves. And out of everything that I've had people use Carmets, I've even had people use a tot of whiskey. I've even had people who've had so much whiskey that we had to cancel the test. There's all these sort of things that have happened. So please, ibuprofen is probably the safest. But what I would strongly suggest is just to make sure it doesn't have adverse effects if you normally take it. What you do is you say to your driving instructor, you say to him, listen, today I'm driving with ibuprofen. I've got a dose of ibuprofen in. Just make sure I'm not too relaxed about what's going on in the road. That's always a good way, because then you're with somebody who can keep you safe. The other thing, and you can write this there, is beta blockers. You can use beta blockers. Beta blockers calm your nerves, calm you down. But the thing is, what you've got to do is there's a process that you can't buy them over the counter. So you have to go to your doctor. Your doctor, you can explain to the doctor what your problem is. They can prescribe you a number of beta blockers. And what you do, and this is my honest suggestion, the best way to work with that, if the doctor thinks you're safe to have the beta blockers, you get the beta blockers, and then before you go to the driving test, you have 1 or 2 sessions with the beta blockers exactly the way you would do it for the driving test. And you have it with your driving instructor, so he can make sure you're safe to drive. Okay. Then when you go, I would not recommend you going to a driving test and then taking a beta blocker and then trying to do a driving test if you haven't had some trial runs with it. I honestly would not recommend that. I would recommend, if you're going to use a beta blocker, which your doctor will prescribe for you, and or doesn't have to, but can prescribe for you. Obviously, I don't know all the medical things behind it. But if you're really nervous, and that is one of the problems that you suffer with, you can go to your doctor and you can ask him, please, could you prescribe some beta blockers for me? Because I have a nervous problem with exams, or I've been having problems with that. Then you can go to the doctor, get some beta blockers, but don't get just for the driving test, because that to me is not safe. I don't think that's safe. You must have at least 2 sessions where you take the beta blocker exactly the way the doctor says you should take it for the driving test. He'll probably say an hour before with some food or something. And then you take it an hour before your driving lesson. And then you tell your instructor, please, I have taken some calming medicine or this is the medicine I've taken. The doctor is happy that I can still drive with this sort of medicine in me. Please just make sure I am safe when I have taken this type of medicine. Then you haven't created an unknown situation, and the driving instructor can follow through and make sure you're safe. Okay, so that's really, really important that you combine those things in a safe and proper manner. Okay. All right, Kim, and then I'd just like you had a bit of a evaluation today. What your overall psychological experience around that was.
Yeah, so I think I've had 3 driving tests so far, and I was just thinking, as you were discussing earlier about having a sequence in your head when you're driving, and maybe because I was so nervous when I was driving, trying to do my best, but forgetting my sequence, so I was almost just driving aimlessly around during my test and not checking my mirrors was a big thing. And I think it happened in all 3 exams, is that it has come up that I don't always check my mirrors when I'm meant to. So that's something that I have to focus on as you went through today, is just making sure I have a sequence on driving. And I'm really thinking about what I'm doing rather than just driving.
Yeah. And if you focus on your sequence, you're not nervous of whether you're doing it properly. If you know the sequence is right and you follow the sequence, the examiner can't fault you for the sequence, can he? That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to remember to do your mirrors because it's part of your sequence.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, Kim. Okay. So I want to say that was a real pleasure meeting you. And you were amazingly well dressed as well. I really appreciated that very much. I wish I could I should have taken a photograph to show everybody today. Kim, thank you very much for that. Any other comments you'd like to make, Kim?
Yeah, anyone else experience what I've experienced? I guess just keep calm. I know nerves can get the better of us sometimes, but as you say, just really be calm. And if you can, I know you guys have a lot of reading material, so that is something I really need to step up and practice and read up on what it is that I need to do in order for me to pass my exam and be a better driver on the road, because I don't want to be a rubbish driver. So I want to be a good driver. So yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you know the procedure and you know the sequence and you apply the sequences, you can always improve and adjust the sequence. Do you follow? Yeah. Because it is something that can develop with your driving style. And that's something that can make you a better driver as well. Okay, definitely. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Okay, guys, so that's the first part. I just wanted to make absolutely sure that the important thing here is, guys, it costs a lot of money to do a driving test. Be sure you are ready to do the driving test. Don't go to a driving test if you're not sure you're there. And if you need to do a mock test or something, please contact your client managers, talk to them. If you want a special evaluation or something, we want to spend a bit of time with myself as well to help you, maybe do a bit of work with you or something like that, you're more than welcome to book in some lessons as well and some preparation for driving tests. The only trouble is that I do only work out of certain areas, okay? I only work in specific areas because I can't afford to travel too far. So if anybody wants anything like that, please just contact your client managers and set it up. And Kim, thank you so much for your participation tonight. And also, I really enjoyed our lesson today. That was great fun, and keep it going. Keep it going. You've got the right attitude. You've got a great attitude.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so let's talk about the preparation for the driving test. It's really important that you look at the driving test preparation videos that we have available. Those preparation videos are there to save you time, money, and effort. And if you get to really know the contents of those driving test videos, you are going to save yourself a lot of time that you don't have to sit and ask your driving instructor to repeat stuff that you can get off video. It's about getting ready for the driving test, preparing yourself to have structure and knowledge about what you need to know when you go into the driving test. And then you can focus on those things in your mind while you're doing your driving test, and you're not sitting there thinking, am I doing this right? Because you know you're doing it right. You know that it's being done correctly. And then you can just focus on your procedure. Okay. Okay. Is it Ludmila? I'm going to allow you to talk. What would you like to ask? Sorry.
Oh, yes. My name is Mila. I have a really stupid question. I'm sorry for it.
No,
when
Mila,
you said that
no questions are stupid. No questions are stupid. Go for it.
Thank you. When you said that we have to show that we identified the place we are going to pull up, how do we do that? Because we can show we look to the mirrors, but how can shall I just say, yes, I think I'm going to pull up here? Or
Mila,
how can I let the driving...
Mila, that is something you do in your mind, but I'll tell you what will happen. By the way you pull up there, the examiner will know you've identified that place.
So I'm going to particular.
Yeah, you see, you when you're driving along, and there are a whole lot of driveways and maybe some parked cars, and he says pull up on the left. If you just go mirror, mirror, left signal, have you identified anything?
No, otherwise I'll hit something.
Yeah. So what you do is you're driving along, he says, pull up on the left. Now, I always say, the moment you get the instruction, do the mirrors for the instruction. Just do that, because that's a good way of doing it. So what I would say you do, says, okay, pull up on the left where it's safe and convenient. You do the mirrors, mirror, mirror, but no signal, right? Now you identify, oh, I'm going to pull up on the other side of that car. And then what happens is, when you're at close enough, you then do the mirrors for the signal, mirror, mirror, left signal. And then you drive in before you get to the place where you want to be, and you drive into that spot, and you've got the right space. But if he's giving you an instruction, you immediately go for the mirrors and the signal as well, and you haven't identified the place where you want to pull up, you might signal much too early, and then you're under pressure to pull up somewhere.
Yeah, I see. But sometimes when I'm pulling up, it takes me a little bit longer because, okay, I've got an idea when I want to stop, but then during the maneuver, I might change my mind. Is it a kind of hesitation or?
That would be hesitation. Miller, did the examiner say you must pull up immediately?
No.
Okay. So who decides how long it takes?
I don't know.
You do. You're driving. You are the person in charge. He's giving you an instruction. But the instruction is to pull up where it's safe and convenient. You have to be comfortable with where you pull up.
Yes, I see. Thank you very much.
Does that answer your question? But,
yes.
But if you have just reacted and not thought about it and not planned it, it becomes a mess. It becomes too much pressure. It becomes nervousness. But if you think, okay, now I should find a place to pull up, and you're looking in your mirrors, oh, there's a place over there. I think it's a bit far. It doesn't matter if it's a bit far.
I see the difference, yes.
It doesn't matter, does it? All you have to do now is, okay, I've got enough time, slow down, check my mirrors, put on my left signal, drive close to the pavement, get into the position, move a little bit forward. That's it. That's nice. And then switch off. That's it. Job done. You go through the shutdown procedure. Car into neutral, handbrake, or handbrake up, car into neutral, signal off. Now you sit there.
Okay. Yeah, I see.
Comfortable?
Thank you. Yeah. Understood.
That was a clever question. I liked it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mila. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next thing now. All right. So the DVSA, just talk about that a little bit quickly. Please, guys, I had this question from the Daily Mail today. They said to me, and I think this is important for everybody to understand as well, so that you can understand what we do. They said to me, why does it cost somebody so much more when you book the driving test than they can book it on the DVSA? And my answer, reality is, it's all to do with the amount of work we have to put in to get that driving test. Those driving tests don't just pop up on our system and we can suddenly sell them. We have people, lots of administrative people who sit around working every single day to find driving tests that suit your particular requirements. Now, I said to the reporter as well, I said, look, have you tried to find a driving test? Have you actually sat behind a computer and tried to find a driving test? And he said, no. I said, it's bloomin' hard. You have to sit there for hours clicking, trying to find a driving test. If you can get into the system to start with, because there's so much pressure on the system, and once you've got into the system, you're working your butt off trying to find driving tests. You're just sitting clicking. It's mind-bogglingly difficult. It's not as if the DVSA have said to us, here are 300 driving tests, you can book these driving tests. I wish they would. It would be wonderful. But they don't. We have to work just as hard as everybody else to find driving tests for our students. There's no difference. Whether you can come and work for me, if you think you're good at finding driving tests, please put up your hand and come and work for me so I can pay you to find those driving tests. But that process is exactly the same for my client managers. And they are dedicated, hardworking, sweating people. I see them sitting behind their computers, sweating and drinking tea once every 3 hours. And they're even scared to run to the BB because while they're there, a test might come up that Joe wanted. Okay? So that's why. But if you don't want to use us, we don't blackmail you for it. If you think we're too expensive, please do it yourself. You're welcome, really, honestly. And we don't charge you more for the driving test. We charge you what the DVSA charges us. Although we pay the banking penalties on it, it still comes out on a one-on-one basis. But we are doing it because of the admin involved, because we have to keep our records up to date. We have got accountants that have to check the payments that are going in and out of the DVSA. We have to check that when the DVSA suddenly make a change on your driving test, that we are aware of it and that we get that information out to you. We have to reschedule driving instructors. We have tons and tons of actions that take place every day. Internally, our messaging alone is over 1,000 messages every single day. Internally, not even our external messaging. So, guys, it's not like we're trying to rip you off. If we have to do a lot of work to get that work done. Okay, so please understand that is what we do. We have you have asked us, when somebody asks us for a driving test, you have asked us to sit in front of a computer and look for a driving test for you. Maybe 2 weeks long of work goes into it, or more. Excuse me, depending on how much is coming in. Okay, all right. Okay, so DVSA making more tests available. We are working as hard as we can to find those tests by clicking like everybody else, and that's what we do. Okay, and guys, please, if you've got problems, Let's look at how we can sort those problems. Please talk to your client managers and feel free to contact us. Email, text message, WhatsApp, call us. We answer the phones between 9 and 6 in the evening. Between 9 in the morning and 6 in the evening, we have people sitting on the phones, answering phones all the time, every day. That's what we do. We talk to everybody. Guys, one of the things we do, our procedure is normally this. You submit an inquiry to us. If that inquiry was by telephone, then the client manager will actually resolve your inquiry on the phone with you and then send you a proposal document, which includes a clear identification of everything you pay for, whether you're paying for the driving test, whether you're paying for theory test, theory tuition. There's all sorts of facilities we have available. So you can come to us at any stage. You can come to us at the stage where you need to make application for your provisional, and we'll help you even with that. So you can have the whole cart, the whole donkey, everything there is on the cart for the driving test, or you can just get a driving test from us, or you can have instruction from us, or you can have a GP course. There's all sorts of opportunities on how to get your driving test. Once you've made the application, if you make the application online or you contact us online, that immediately goes to a client manager. The client manager will contact you directly, find out what you need, and then take you through the steps that are required and what costing has to be done for you to get what you need. Okay? And it's very transparent. We don't hide anything. We make it very clear. The invoice is very clear on all the things that are required to get you through the driving test. Okay? And everything you want is on there as well. Okay, I'm just sort of answering a little bit of what I saw in some of the Q&As just now. All right, and then I'll just say that's it, guys. Have a great one this evening, and safe travels, and let's get you through the driving test. Let's get it done. Okay, thank you very much. Good night, everybody.